Okay. Rabbi Yossef Messas ended us off yesterday with 5 questions. The first question is, why does the Haggadah start off with all those who are hungry and all those who are needy? What are those 2 different categories? The second, why does it say that the first group should come and eat, while the second group should come and eat the Pesach offering? The third, why does it say all those who need and all those who are hungry? Meaning, now that we know there's a difference between them, I guess we're going to discover there's a difference between them. Why does it have to say both? The fourth question, why in the beginning does it say, now we are slaves, tomorrow we'll be free? Now we are slaves here in San Diego, and next year we'll be free in Israel. Why does it repeat itself twice? And couldn't it have just said that all in one sentence? If there were 2 points that would need to be made, why couldn't it just say, now we are here as slaves, next year we'll be free in Israel as free people? And those were the questions. And Rabbi Yossef Messas alludes to the fact that many people have asked these questions before him, but that he didn't like their answers. That he also wants to offer an answer that maybe is novel or is at least his. Rabbi Yossef Messas is very famous in his tshuvot for doing the same thing. He'll get asked a halachic question, and he'll say, listen, these 12 rabbis address this issue, but if you analyze their arguments, they're all a bunch of hot air. He'll write things like that. Like they didn't hold water, those arguments, and therefore someone else needs to answer them. He didn't say that here. Rather, it seems like he shied away from those answers because there's another point that he wants to bring. So we're on page 52, if you have that PDF on your phone. If you go to the Google Classroom for the Shiviti Night Kollel. Ash, are you in the Night Kollel class?
You're not in Shulchan.
Yeah.
Wait, this is not what we're doing. Wait, you're doing something else, right?
You're in
The Night Kollel. You'll see there's the...
You sent us to...
I sent you 2, so we're in the one of the Haggadah.
The first one, okay.
Yeah, the first one, yes.
Oh, okay.
The first one, and then it
Of
says...
Rabbi Messas.
Exactly. Then it says page 52.
Haggadah part 1, okay.
I opened the wrong one.
And here it says Rabbi Yosef the following. Behakdim, ma shekatvu Chazal. I said I wish to, before I answer these questions, tell you first what Chazal have written. And this is what they say. This quote is directly out of the Shulchan Aruch, Yoreh De'ah, chapter 251, Halacha Aleph. Maran says, Mefarnesim aniyei goyim im aniyei Yisrael. We support financially poor non-Jews together with poor Jews. Mipnei dachei shalom, because of ways of peace. Ad kan shalom is the end of his language. This halakha is a famous halakha, and there are many different ways to interpret this halakha. Let's say that the most negative way to interpret this halakha is we wouldn't care at all about poor non-Jews. But because it doesn't look nice to not give them tzedakah also, so long as there are other Jews around that we're giving tzedakah to them, we're not going to discriminate, we'll give tzedakah to anybody who needs it. Then there's this way that no, dachei shalom, it's the proper way to do things. It's the proper way is to help both people. Even if it's not necessarily a mitzvah of tzedakah per se, but it's a mitzvah of helping other human beings who need our help. And there's a third way, in the way that we obviously feel here, and that is the teaching of Rabbi Yonatan Halevy, who says that it used to be the only reason we gave to a Roman in the streets of Jerusalem was because, what are we going to do? I mean, if not, they're going to come kill us, or they're going to hate us more than they already do. He said, but today we shouldn't even be giving tzedakah because that's the nice thing to do, but because it's the proper understanding of the mitzvah of tzedakah that the halakha demands from us to be good to all people equally. His words are, the motivating force shouldn't be just peace, but rather a base humanity that we all share. That is what Rav Chaim David Halevi wishes for in his halachic works and hashkafic works. He mentions this at least once, to my knowledge.
Does he argue with this priority of tzedakah, like giving your town before you give in your state before you give your country?
Not
before you go to
necessarily.
other countries?
Not necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
No, right. There is a prioritization of how you give tzedakah. That's true. I don't know that he's arguing with that per se, but he's saying definitely people who feel there's no mitzvah to give tzedakah to a non-Jewish person, he would tell them, even if you could prove to me that argument halachically, you couldn't prove that argument to me on an ethical level. And halachot today should be matching up to the ethics that we believe in. Of course, there are people who didn't like that he said that, but that's nice. They don't like a lot of things that a lot of people say.
But there is the old expression, charity begins at home, so you would first prioritize giving to Jewish people, because that's part of our family.
You know, when the Lubavitch Rebbe pushed his Hasidim to go proselytize to non-Jews and teach them the 7 mitzvot of Noach, he got the same argument back, which was, why are you bothering with non-Jews? You fixed all the Jews in the world, you found all of them, that now you have time to waste on non-Jews? Let's be careful that we don't sound that way, because sometimes we sound that way. And it could be, tzedakah begins at home, for sure. Hey, I spend more money on Elchanan than I spend on you. I'm sorry, I hope you're not offended by that. That's the way my life is.
I mean,
and that's
the Jewish charities before you.
Yes and no. Yes, I give to the Jewish. I don't give to charities ever. That's I stay very far away from charities. I don't know what they do with the money. I don't know how much the guy who sits at the head of the organization takes from them. I'll tell you about a real situation. You know that on your block there's a Jewish family and a non-Jewish family. Both of them can't pay their bills and end of the month. I just spoke to a Dayan today, who told me that he on Matanot Levanim gives equally to Jews and non-Jews. He holds, like Shulchan Aruch mentions, that giving Matanot Levanim to non-Jews counts as your mitzvah. It's not the simple understanding of the teaching in the Megillah, but that's what he does, and go fly a kite. They didn't care. That's what he does. When you understand this halakha, says Rabbi Yossef Messas, you will truly understand the words of the Magid. Shema she'amar mitchila, because now what she said in the beginning, Kol dichvin yeteh veichol, all those who are hungry, let them come and eat. Who? Guess what's pshat? Why are there 2 people that are coming to eat here? Now that you know this halakha.
One's Jewish and one's not.
Very good. Kail kriyat balabayit anei goyim. He's calling out to the poor non-Jews to join him at his seder to come and eat. Kedei lachilam, to give them food. Mipnei dachei shalom, because of ways of peace. V'lachen nakat hamagid b'kriyat zo shel hagoyim. I'm going to read you something that you shouldn't get offended from. You should understand what he's trying to say. Why is it that Am Yisrael makes a brachot before we eat food?
Which page is this again?
Page 52. Why do you make a brachot? Why do we put the dishes that we eat from inside of a mikveh? All those are halachot. We don't have real reasons. But what's the idea that we're trying to reach?
Everything is connected to Hashem, and you have to thank
Bless
Hashem for
Hashem.
giving you what you gave.
Our food is not just about eating. Our food is about connecting to HaKadosh Baruch Hu even through eating. It's about making ourselves stronger to serve Hashem. It's about everything here has to do with Hashem. And so he says here, this calling out of all those who are hungry. What is hungry? Starving. Who's starving? He says a person who looks at food, you would only say starving, kimal hagoy dafka, לפי שתחיית הגוי היא על הלחם. ואם יחסר לחמו, יחזוהו זלפות רעב. It says that a non-Jew looks at food as a source of food. That's what it is. Food is food. I'm hungry, I need food. That's a normal human being. That's the way a person lives with food. But Ish Hashem HaYisraeli, the Jewish man of Hashem, who is not just a Jewish man, but one of Hashem, because he's saying there are Jews also that are not like this. His sustenance is not just from the bread that he eats. On page 53, it also has to, that food has to include some sort of spirituality to it, some connection to Hashem through it. You know, I've said this many times before, that when a person eats, it's all about food, and I hear people say, I went to a wedding, there was a smorgasbord, and a Viennese table, and you don't sound like a Jew who's talking. I'm not saying derogatory, you sound like a human being, a person who's not refined about their food. We eat food. You're allowed to even enjoy your food, but that's not what we went to a wedding for the smorgasbord. You drove all the way to LA to go eat in a restaurant and drove back? That's the only reason you went to LA? I know there's some people do this all the time, but it's not normal. It's not normal, at least for a person who connects to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. that their whole life should revolve around food. Person eats, you eat, good, Baruch Hashem. But more than that, no, nobody asked you to be a ascetic who lives in a cave and eats, carobs. That's not everybody. But don't overemphasize the food. In fact, I'll tell you the truth, and I'm sure that it's like this also in Ashkenazi tradition, because my mother-in-law's mother was very particular about this. Not to talk so much about the food. For example, in a Sephardic culture, let's say, if you go to someone's house and you're, the food is great, it almost like comes off rude. You're complimenting the food too much. My mother will get upset, like, what, all you came here for was the food? No, it could just be Moroccans trying to get offended about something. But really, there's something built into that culture, like, if you only came here for the food, you didn't come for the company, you didn't come for the singing, you didn't come for anything else. So my mother-in-law's mother was, also her father, was very particular. There's a word in Yiddish, I'm not a Yiddish speaker, but to essen means to eat. And people use the word fressen, or like, fressen is like to stuff your face.
Well,
She
there's
considered
S and
fress, that word she considered a vulgar word. Like, Jews don't use that word. Who else uses the word? But it's Yiddish. Who else uses the word? But
That's really getting offended.
it's like, we don't use the word fress in our house. We just eat. That's it. And it's a very important, that's built into Jewish culture. Ashkenazi, Sephardic, in fact, in Yemen, there's a halakha. It's not a halakha, it's a custom in Yemen. That when you pick up, let's pretend something is a food. When you pick up this cup, let's imagine that it was a date, because that's what they talk about. You shouldn't hold it in your hand. You should hold it in 3 of your fingers, to show that you're not desiring this food so much. So even when you make the bracha of food, to eat it without your whole hand. There was a rabbi that I used to go to his house for Shabbat, and he would do this big oneg Shabbat, and 30, 40 people would come to hear, and they would keep replacing themselves, like a train station. And he would sing, and his wife would make these Rice Krispie treats, marshmallow fluff and Rice Krispies, and they would be in cubes and be all over the table. And this was his favorite thing to eat. And he had a stack of them next to his, he had a big chumash. It was like when I was a teenager, and he would sit here, and he would be singing a song, imagine the very emotional, spiritual song, and in the middle he would just go, I'm sorry for the camera, like that, in his face, every few minutes. It's straight, the whole Rice Krispie would go into his mouth, and he would eat it and then swallow and then continue singing. I remember when I first saw it, I thought it was a joke, bullying on what. Really, that's how he eats. That's his thing. One of my friends saw this rabbi recently in a restaurant. He went with his wife to go take her to eat some pizza. Thank you. And he comes to the restaurant. This rabbi's there. Oh, how are you? I says hello. He goes over to the counter. He orders. In New York, they give you slices of pizza, but they're very big. They're like a double. Well, we would have 2 slices. That's 1 slice in New York. He goes to the thing. He washed his hands. He took the pizza. He folded it in half. 1, 2, 3. Ate the whole thing.
Oh.
Go.
Took his soda. Guzzled the whole can.
Oh,
1 gulp. Put it back on the table. Said Birkat Hamazon and walked out. They say he's a very efficient eater. But there's a certain...
More time for Torah.
Yeah, okay, more time for Torah. There's a certain refinement in which a person who's an Ish Hashem HaYisraeli is supposed to be eating with. And this is a person I studied Torah from, so I'm not going to, God forbid, say anything bad about them, but I didn't see my other rabbis in such a fashion. It's a very, very delicate. When you eat, it's something you do. I'm not even talking about the Rice Krispie treats and the soda, forget the... Thank God Zev's not here tonight. That's a different kind of thing. K'mo shekatuv, like it says, top of 53. Lo al halechem levado yichya adam. A person will not only survive just on bread, ki al kol motza pi Hashem yichya adam. Because of what comes out of the mouth of Hashem will the person live. V'im ken, and therefore, Ish HaYisraeli, the Jewish person, afi michsar lachmo. But do you see this? I was talking a lot about Ish HaYisraeli, the Israelite person. This term falls out of much of Jewish literature at the founding of the State of Israel. Because Jews don't want to identify as Israelis, as Zionists. They wish to be Jews. So there's a conscious shift to the word Yehudi, Jew, as opposed to Israelite. This Jewish man, even if he's lacking bread, he'll never use the word starving. Let's look at 53.
Because like an exaggeration and.
It's like a start. I mean, all I'm looking for is food. This is his thing, and a Jew wouldn't speak like that. So the Balabait is saying, those who are starving come and eat. Notice he doesn't invite them to enjoy from the Pesach meal because he knows that only a person who would answer a call for starving wouldn't be a person who's looking for a Pesach meal. This is his assumption. Ach, Bava Shanit, but the second part, she called the Tzich Yetev Yifsach, anyone who should come, and anyone who needs should come and eat the Pesach. Kai Al Kirat Balabait L'Aniyei Yisrael. I'm in the second paragraph. The Balabait is calling out to the poor Jews. V'lechen Nakat Ba'Magid called it Tzrich, anyone who needs. Shu Lashon Naki Uvar. It's a very refined word. V'lo Nakat called Dichfin, all those who are starving. Ze lo shayach b'Yisrael Lashon Kafna. Because this language of starving is not one. In fact, I even heard from some Holocaust survivors, don't say starving. You don't know what starving is. Starving is when a few days go by and you haven't even tasted a crumb of bread. That's starving. No, you didn't get your jelly beans for lunch. That's not starving. That's just. Af im ichsar lachmo ki lo al alechem levado yechi adam Yisraeli. The same thing. It's pretty repetitive. He mentions in page 54 an interesting Kabbalistic idea, which is funny because later, like I told you, in Rabbi Yossef Messas' life, you don't see many more Kabbalistic ideas. He says that, why does he call the non-Jew first? And he mentions that every time you try to do something holy, the Sitra Achra, the evil forces try to attack you. They try to stop you. He says, so this way you can say, look, even before I took care of myself, my own people, I took care of everybody else. What do you want to complain about me now too? Like, you want to come off as extra good in this way so that the Satan has nothing to say about you. Look at these Jews sitting at their table, they're poor people in the street, they're not eating. No, look, I took care of everybody and then I started my Seder. That's the idea behind this statement. The next part that we're going to get into is about why he says, now we're free, next year we're in the land of Israel. I'm going to leave that for next week, Monday. Let's do some halachot.